Darkness. Not the darkness of a moonless night, but an absolute, crushing darkness that has existed since before the dawn of humankind. A darkness so complete that your eyes, straining against the void, would see nothing. Nothing except a single, impossible point of light, glowing like a star fallen to the bottom of the world. And then the light moves, it dances, it pulses with an otherworldly blue-green glow, beckoning, hypnotic, irresistible. Something in the water, something hungry, begins to move toward it. The light flickers faster now, waving back and forth like a fishing rod dangled by an unseen hand. The prey draws closer, closer still, until in one explosive instant, the darkness erupts. A mouth the size of a basketball tears open, lined with teeth like curved daggers of glass, translucent and sharp as surgical blades. The teeth point inward, angry like the bars of a prison. Once inside, nothing escapes. The predator returns to stillness. The light continues to glow. And somewhere in the vast expanse of the deep ocean, another victim begins its final, fatal approach. Welcome to the domain of the anglerfish, one of nature's most horrifying and ingenious hunters. She is the queen of the midnight zone, ruler of a realm where sunlight has never penetrated and where pressure can crush a human body in seconds. She is a creature so bizarre, so impossibly adapted to her environment, that when scientists first discovered her, they couldn't believe such an organism could exist. Her body defies the laws we think govern life. Her hunting methods seem torn from the pages of science fiction, and her reproductive strategy, well, that's a tale of body horror that would make even the most creative screenwriter blush. This is her story. The story of a monster. The story of a survivor. The story of evolution's darkest masterpiece. 100 million years ago, when dinosaurs still roamed the Earth during the Cretaceous period, the ancestors of the modern anglerfish made a decision that would seal their evolutionary fate. While other fish remained in the shallows, where sunlight could reach, where food was abundant and life was comparatively easy, the early anglerfishes descended into the abyss. Genetic analysis suggests this diversification occurred during a remarkably short window between 130 and 100 million years ago, though some recent studies narrow this time frame even further to the late Cretaceous, between 92 and 61 million years ago. Why would any creature voluntarily exile itself to such a hostile environment? Competition. The shallow seas were crowded with predators, each fighting for the same prey, the same territory, the same chance at survival. But the deep ocean, that vast, lightless frontier, was largely unexplored. It was a gamble, an evolutionary leap into the unknown. Most species that attempted such a journey would have failed, their lineages ending in extinction. But the anglerfish possessed something special, something that would become their defining feature: the lure. Originally, this was nothing more than a modified spine from their dorsal fin, a simple protrusion that extended above their heads. But over millions of relentless natural selection, this spine transformed into something extraordinary. It became the elysium, a flexible, mobile rod that could be positioned and waved with precision. At its tip developed the esca, a bulbous structure that would eventually house one of nature's most remarkable partnerships.
The deep-sea anglerfish families that we know today, the Ceratioidea, emerged during the Eocene epoch, approximately 56 to 34 million years ago. This was a time of global warming, known as the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum, when ocean temperatures rose dramatically and ocean currents shifted. In this changing environment, the anglerfishes underwent rapid diversification, evolving into 11 distinct families, each with their own unique modifications and specializations. It was during this explosive radiation that sexual parasitism first evolved, a reproductive strategy so extreme that it would redefine what we thought was possible in the animal kingdom. To understand the anglerfish, you must first understand the world she inhabits. The bathypelagic zone, The midnight zone extends from depths of 1,000 meters to 4,000 meters below the ocean's surface. At these depths, the pressure is crushing, measuring between 100 and 400 atmospheres. That's roughly 100 times the pressure you experience on land. Every square inch of an anglerfish's body endures a force equivalent to having a small car sitting on it. And yet, she glides through this environment as if weightless. Her soft, flexible bones adapted perfectly to withstand forces that would pulverize most terrestrial creatures. The temperature hovers just above freezing, typically between 2 and 4 degrees Celsius. No warmth from the sun penetrates here. No seasonal changes mark the passage of time. The environment remains locked in an eternal, icy twilight. But it's the darkness that defines this realm. At these depths, not a single photon of sunlight reaches you. The darkness is not merely an absence of light, it is a physical presence, a weight that presses against you from all sides. Your eyes, evolved over millions of years to detect even the faintest glimmers of light, would be utterly useless here. You would be effectively blind, suspended in an infinite void where up and down lose all meaning. And yet, paradoxically, the deep ocean glimmers with life. 90% of organisms in these depths have evolved bioluminescence, the ability to produce their own light through chemical reactions. The midnight zone is alive with pinpricks of blue and green luminescence, like an alien sky filled with cold, distant stars. Some flash in rapid bursts to startle predators. Others glow in steady, eerie patterns to attract mates or confuse prey. It's a light show that occurs in complete isolation, witnessed by no human eyes, playing out in the largest habitat on our planet. This is where the Anglerfish Queen reigns supreme. If you could somehow survive the pressure and darkness and see an anglerfish in her natural habitat, you would witness something that seems biologically impossible. The female anglerfish is grotesque by any conventional standard, a nightmare given form. Her body is bulbous and bloated, roughly spherical, like a basketball with fins. Her skin is jet black or dark brown, absorbing what little light exists in her environment, rendering her nearly invisible in the darkness. The skin itself is loose and saggy, without the sleek scales of most fish, giving her an almost melted appearance. Her mouth is her most arresting feature, and it is absolutely enormous. It can open wide enough to form a perfect crescent that extends around the entire circumference of her head. When fully open, her mouth looks like a portal to somewhere even darker than the abyss around her. Inside this cavern are rows upon rows of needle-sharp teeth, translucent as glass, curved backward like fish hooks. These teeth are hinged, capable of folding flat against her gums to allow prey to slide deeper into her throat, but they snap upright the instant something tries to escape. They form a one-way valve, a biological trap from which there is no return. But the teeth are only the beginning. The anglerfish's jaw can dislocate and extend forward like a snake's, allowing her to engulf prey twice her own body size. Her stomach, too, is remarkably elastic. When food is scarce, which is often in the deep ocean, she can gorge herself on a single enormous meal, her belly distending to grotesque proportions as she swallows a fish larger than herself whole. She becomes a swimming stomach, a mobile digestive system with fins. Her eyes are small, almost vestigial, because sight is nearly useless in total darkness. Instead, she relies on other senses, pressure-sensitive cells along her lateral line that can detect the tiniest vibrations in the water, and an acute chemical sensitivity that allows her to taste changes in the ocean's composition. She's covered in sensory papillae, small protrusions that extend from her skin like antennae, each one attuned to the subtle movements and chemical signatures of potential prey. And then there's the lure itself, the anglerfish's defining characteristic. The elysium extends from the top of her head like a fishing rod, and it's remarkably flexible. 5 distinct pairs of muscles, erector, depressor, Incliner, protractor, and retractor allow the anglerfish to manipulate this appendage with extraordinary precision. She can wave it back and forth, move it up and down, extend it forward or retract it close to her body. The control is so fine-tuned that she can make the lure dance in specific patterns, each movement calculated to mimic the natural behaviors of small prey animals. At the tip of this rod sits the esca, a bulbous organ that glows with an ethereal blue-green light. This isn't reflected sunlight or simple refraction. This is true bioluminescence, cold light produced through a chemical reaction. But here's the truly remarkable part. The anglerfish herself doesn't create this light. She's struck a deal with something ancient, something microscopic, something that may have existed long before fish ever evolved. Inside the esca live colonies of bioluminescent bacteria, billions of them packed together in the confined space. These bacteria belong to the Vibrionaceae family, and they've evolved one of the strangest symbiotic relationships in nature. The bacteria produce light through a chemical reaction involving an enzyme called luciferase, which oxidizes a molecule called luciferin, releasing energy in the form of visible light. The anglerfish provides the bacteria with shelter, nutrients, and a steady supply of glucose. In return, the bacteria transform her into a living lighthouse in the abyss.
But this relationship is even stranger than it first appears. For decades, scientists assumed that anglerfish inherited these bacteria from their mothers, passed down from generation to generation like a family heirloom. But recent genetic studies have revealed something unexpected. The bacteria don't come from the parent fish at all. They come from the water itself. Young anglerfish hatch without any bacteria in their developing lures. As they mature and their esca forms a small pore that opens to the ocean, bacteria from the surrounding water drift in and colonize the organ. Somehow, despite the vastness of the ocean and the relative scarcity of both anglerfish and their specific bacterial partners, the right bacteria find the right host. The fish caught in different parts of the world, separated by thousands of miles and sometimes decades, harbor bacteria that are 99% genetically identical. Even more puzzling is the bacteria's own genome. These microbes have undergone massive genetic reduction, losing roughly half of their genes compared to their free-living relatives. They've shed the genetic instructions for producing many essential amino acids and nutrients, becoming dependent on their host for survival. And yet, paradoxically, they've retained genes for building flagella, whip-like tails used for swimming in open water. They've kept genes that are only useful outside a host. This suggests something remarkable. The bacteria can survive in the deep ocean, drifting through the cold, nutrient-poor water, possibly for decades, waiting for a new anglerfish to colonize. They may store energy in molecular form, entering a state of near hibernation, barely growing but remaining alive. When they finally encounter the chemical signature of a developing anglerfish esca, they home in on it, swim through the tiny pore, and take up residence in their new bioluminescent home. The partnership renews itself each generation. Bacteria and fish finding each other across the infinite darkness. The anglerfish can control when and how brightly her lure glows. A muscular skin flap acts like an eyelid, allowing her to cover the esca and hide its light completely. She can pulse the light in rhythmic patterns or wave it continuously. She experiments with different movements, different frequencies, learning what attracts prey most effectively in her particular hunting ground. And then she waits. Patience is her greatest weapon. She hovers nearly motionless in the water column, her dark body invisible against the darker water. Only the lure moves, dancing in the darkness, a tiny beacon of impossible light. She might wait hours, even days, barely moving, burning minimal energy. Her metabolism is slow, adapted for a world where meals are unpredictable and widely spaced. Eventually, something notices the light. Perhaps it's a small fish, drawn by instinct towards what its brain interprets as bioluminescent prey. Perhaps
Perhaps it's a crustacean, curious and hungry. Whatever it is, it begins to approach the light, swimming closer, mesmerized by the glow. The anglerfish tracks its progress through the sensitive pressure detectors in her lateral line, feeling the vibrations of its movement through the water. She adjusts the lure's movement, making it more enticing, more irresistible. The prey draws within striking range, its attention completely focused on the dancing light. It doesn't see the massive body suspended beneath the lure. It doesn't recognize the danger until the final fraction of a second, when the water itself seems to explode around it. The anglerfish's strike is one of the fastest predatory actions in the ocean. Her enormous mouth flies open, creating a powerful suction that pulls water and prey directly into her gullet. It's called suction feeding, and when performed by an anglerfish, it's devastatingly effective. The prey has no time to react, no chance to escape. One moment it's swimming toward the light, the next moment it's tumbling past rows of inward-pointing teeth, already being swallowed whole. The entire attack lasts less than 6 milliseconds. The teeth fold flat as the prey slides inward, then snap upright once it's passed, preventing any backward movement. The anglerfish's stomach begins expanding immediately, its walls stretching to accommodate her meal. If the prey is particularly large, she might look comically distorted, her body stretched grotesquely around her dinner. But she doesn't care about appearances. She cares about survival. And in the deep ocean, every meal counts. After feeding, she returns to stillness. The lure continues to glow. The cycle begins again. But the anglerfish's life isn't only about hunting, it's also about reproduction, and here's where her story becomes truly bizarre, venturing into territory that seems more like science fiction than biology. Male anglerfish are utterly different from females. Where the female might grow to the size of a basketball, males remain tiny, rarely exceeding a few centimeters in length. Some species have males that are mere millimeters long in maturity, among the smallest vertebrates ever discovered. They lack the elaborate lure of the female. They lack her massive jaws and expandable stomach. In fact, they lack almost everything except the absolute essentials: large eyes, huge nostrils for detecting chemical signals, and sharp tooth-like denticles at the tips of their jaws. Because male anglerfish have one purpose, one singular goal that drives their entire existence: find a female. In the vast emptiness of the deep ocean, finding a mate would seem nearly impossible. The midnight zone is the largest habitat on Earth, containing more water than all other marine environments combined. Anglerfish are relatively rare, spread thinly across this enormous volume. The chances of a male encountering a female of his own species by random chance are astronomically small, and yet reproduction must occur, or the species will die out. Nature's solution to this problem is extreme. Male anglerfish hatch with fully functional eyes and an extraordinarily acute sense of smell. From the moment of his birth, a male begins searching for the chemical signature of a mature female of the species. She releases pheromones into the water, species-specific attractants that drift on the currents. The male follows this molecular trail like a bloodhound, swimming through the darkness towards a female he has never seen, pursuing a scent that might be days or even weeks old.
This should be a death sentence. Without a functional adaptive immune system, the anglerfish should be vulnerable to every pathogen in the ocean, unable to defend themselves against bacterial infections, viral invasions, or parasitic diseases. And yet, they survive. They thrive. Scientists believe the anglerfish must have dramatically enhanced innate immune systems, relying on more primitive but highly effective defense mechanisms that don't require antibody formation. It's a biological trade-off, sacrificing one form of protection to enable their bizarre reproductive strategy. The fact that vertebrates can survive without an adaptive immune system, something science long considered impossible, has profound implications. It suggests that evolution is far more flexible than we realized, that bodies can be reconfigured in ways we never thought possible.
Medical researchers studying anglerfish immunity hope to apply these insights to human medicine, potentially improving organ transplantation techniques or developing new approaches to autoimmune diseases. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of sexual reproduction is how recently it evolved. Sexual parasitism didn't appear until the Eocene epoch, roughly 50 to 35 million years ago, during a period of significant global warming. This was long after the anglerfish lineage itself had emerged, suggesting that this extreme adaptation arose in response to specific environmental pressures. As anglerfish colonized the deepest parts of the ocean, spreading out across the vast midnight zone, finding mates became increasingly difficult. Sexual parasitism was evolution's answer to this problem, a radical solution that sacrificed individual male independence for the certainty of reproductive success. Not all anglerfish species practice obligate parasitism. Some engage in temporary attachment, where males bite and hold but don't permanently fuse, eventually releasing and swimming free. Others appear to have facultative parasitism, where both attached and free-living males exist in the same species. This diversity suggests that sexual parasitism evolved multiple times independently across different anglerfish lineages, convergent evolution producing the same horrifying solution to the same fundamental problem. The journey of an anglerfish begins in a vast gelatinous sheet of eggs. A single female can release millions of eggs at once, encased in a translucent mucus-like substance that might stretch longer than a school bus. The eggs drift in the dark water, each one carrying the potential for life, though the vast majority will never hatch. They'll be eaten by other deep-sea creatures, dissolved by bacteria, or simply fail to develop. But some survive. The larvae that emerge are tiny, transparent, and utterly unlike their monstrous parents. They lack the characteristic lure, they lack the enormous jaws, they're fragile, nearly invisible creatures that immediately begin an extraordinary vertical migration, swimming upward toward the distant surface. This journey takes them thousands of meters of ocean, from the eternal night of the bathypelagic zone into the twilight waters of the mesopelagic, and finally into the sun-drenched photic zone near the surface. Here, in the presence of actual sunlight, something their parents have never experienced, the larvae feed on tiny planktonic organisms, growing stronger, developing the basic structures they'll need for their adult lives. But they cannot remain here. As they mature, as their juvenile forms begin taking shape, they commence the descent, sinking back down into the darkness from which they came. The young female's elysium begins to form, a small protrusion that will eventually become her fishing rod. The esca develops at its tip, creating a tiny pore that opens to the water. And then somehow, across the vast emptiness of the ocean, bioluminescent bacteria find their way inside, colonizing her lure, igniting the light that will define her existence. Males undergo their own transformation, their eyes growing disproportionately large, their nostrils expanding, their jaws developing the sharp denticles they'll use to attach to a female. They begin producing the hormones that will drive them to seek out a mate, compelled by an instinct stronger than hunger, stronger than the will to survive. The juvenile anglerfish settle into the deep ocean, taking their places in an ancient cycle of predation and reproduction that has continued unbroken for millions of years. Despite living in one of the planet's largest and most diverse ecosystems, anglerfish remain profoundly mysterious. They're incredibly difficult to study. Living specimens are almost never successfully brought to the surface. The dramatic pressure change and temperature shift kills them before scientists can examine them properly. Most of what we know comes from preserved specimens captured in deep-sea trawls or from the rare, precious moments when remotely operated vehicles equipped with cameras encounter anglerfish in their natural habitat. These encounters are breathtaking. In 2014, researchers operating a submersible off the coast of Azores captured the first ever video footage of a living black sea devil anglerfish, one of the rarely seen species. The female, about 6 inches long, was seen hovering in the water at a depth of around 800 meters, her whisker-like fin rays sweeping slowly through the darkness, pinpoints of light emanating along their length. Most remarkably, a tiny parasitic male was visible on her underside, permanently attached to her belly. The footage lasted about 25 minutes before the anglerfish drifted out of camera range, disappearing back into the darkness. Scientists reviewing the footage were stunned. Despite more than a century of studying anglerfish, this was only the third time anyone had recorded their behavior in deep water. Each observation reveals new details, answers old questions, and raises a dozen new mysteries. How do anglerfish communicate with each other, if at all? How long do they typically live? How do they navigate the featureless darkness of the bathypelagic zone? Do they have territories, or do they drift continuously, nomadic hunters in an infinite black sea? Many anglerfish species are so rare that only a handful of specimens exist in museum collections worldwide. Some species are known from just a single preserved individual. Scientists don't even know how many species of anglerfish truly exist. New species are regularly discovered when deep-sea trawls bring up creatures never before documented.
The bacterial symbionts remain equally enigmatic. Researchers are still trying to understand exactly how the bacteria survive in open water with their dramatically reduced genomes. How do they maintain themselves for potentially decades between hosts? What signals tell them when they've encountered an appropriate anglerfish to colonize? Why are some bacterial species found exclusively in certain anglerfish species while others colonize multiple different hosts? There's also the tantalizing question of whether anglerfishes can control their bacterial populations. Can they regulate how many bacteria live in the esca? Can they selectively kill certain bacteria while allowing others to thrive? Some evidence suggests the fish can alter conditions inside the light organ, changing temperature, pH, or nutrient availability to manage their microbial partners, but the mechanisms remain unclear. And then there are the implications for our understanding of life itself. Anglerfishes live in an environment that seems fundamentally hostile to complex life. The pressure would crush most organisms, the temperature hovers near freezing, food is extraordinarily scarce, no sunlight penetrates to provide energy, and yet here, in these conditions, evolution has produced creatures of remarkable sophistication and adaptation. If life can thrive in the deep ocean, if creatures as complex as anglerfishes can exist in the midnight zone, what might we find in the oceans of other worlds? Could life exist beneath the frozen surface of Europa, Jupiter's moon, where an ocean of liquid water lies under kilometers of ice? Could similar bioluminescent hunters prowl the subsurface seas of Enceladus, Saturn's enigmatic moon? The anglerfish teaches us that life is far more versatile, far more creative, far more resilient than we give it credit for. It reminds us that evolution doesn't optimize for beauty or elegance, it optimizes for survival, and survival can produce forms that are simultaneously horrifying and magnificent. On a research vessel somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, a trawl net is being lowered into the depths. It will descend to 1,500 meters, far beyond the reach of sunlight, into the domain of creatures that exist in perpetual darkness. The net will drag slowly through the water, collecting whatever unfortunate organisms happen to be in its path. Hours later, when it's finally hauled back to the surface, scientists will eagerly sift through the contents, cataloging strange jellies, alien crustaceans, and occasionally, very occasionally, an anglerfish.
If they're lucky, it will be a female. If they're extraordinarily lucky, she'll have a parasitic male attached. The researchers will preserve the specimen, photograph it from every angle, measure every dimension, extract tissue samples for genetic analysis. The anglerfish will end up in a jar of ethanol in a museum somewhere, one more data point in humanity's long attempt to understand the deep ocean. But millions more anglerfishes will continue their existence in the abyss, beyond human observation, beyond human reach. They'll continue hunting in the eternal darkness, their bioluminescent lures dancing like ghost lights in the void. They'll continue their bizarre mating rituals, males fusing to females in a partnership that seems to defy the laws of biology. They'll continue surviving in an environment that seems designed to kill them. Somewhere in the Mariana Trench, in water so deep that the pressure could crush a submarine, an anglerfish brunette hangs suspended in the darkness. Her lure glows softly, pulsing with light produced by billions of ancient bacteria. She's patient, she's hungry, She's been here for hours, maybe days, waiting for prey that might never come. But she's survived this long by being patient, by conserving her energy, by waiting. And then she feels it, a disturbance in the water, the pressure waves of something swimming, something approaching her light. She adjusts the angle of her lure, making it dance more enticingly. The prey draws closer, closer still. The queen prepares to strike. In this moment, she is evolution's masterpiece, the culmination of 100 million years of adaptation and survival. She is a monster, yes, but she is also a marvel. She has conquered the largest habitat on Earth, thrived in conditions that would kill most creatures instantly, and developed biological solutions to problems that human scientists are only beginning to understand. She is the lure of the dead, the queen of the midnight zone, the anglerfish. And in the vast darkness of the deep ocean, her light continues to glow.